Hey, what's going on, guys? Zach, the Wretched Watchman here, and bringing you a special video. Yeah, a couple of special videos coming out, which I don't do these too often, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. So, yeah. So, if you're watching this, you might be interested by the title of the video, "Chickens for KFC," and I'll explain that in a minute. But the subtitle really paints a picture of the times that we're in, the insanity of the end times. And the insanity can be anything from the insane government policies that are being pushed or the ridiculous advancement in technology to the wars and rumors of wars that we see going on right now, and all of the things as prophecy watchers that we see happening. We definitely can see the signs of the times that we're in the season, as we like to say, for things of prophecy to come alive, the rapture, and things like that, the day of the Lord to begin. But there can also be insanity, which I'm sure that we've all seen in some way, shape, or another, of things where just they don't logically make sense. And what I mean by that is, people have in order to pursue what they want, they're willing to overlook all common sense and logic to the things. And you'll see what I mean here in a second, because I came across an article, and this is from 2018. So I mean, you go back, this is what, 5 years ago, that this article came out, but it still applies to today with what we're seeing, especially now with what we see happening with the Israeli Hamas conflict that's going on. Um, but I came across this article, and sometimes you just find something so ridiculous you can't help but laugh, but at the same time you can see the end times, last days effect at play. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. And this is the title of the article. This comes from a website called them.us, however you want to pronounce it. And just by the title of that, I'm sure you can see where this is going. But let's just go ahead and take a look at this. So it's from them, and they consider themselves the bastion of all things alphabet agenda and whatnot. And you can see here it says, Israel makes the hormones I need, but I support Palestinian liberation. That right there is quite telling for the times that we live in more ways than not. Yeah. And it goes on to say in the little subtext part there, it says a large part of the trans community in the US is being forced to choose between our life affirming transitions and our Palestinian siblings' demand for freedom. Oh, let's just go ahead and take a little dive through this article. Just take a jaunt with me, if you so please. So I'm not going to show the entire article. I just found some spots. I didn't clip out much, but there's some stuff that I didn't see necessary. If you want to go and check it out, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, let's just take a look at some of the parts of this article, and I'll point some things out. And yes, it's ridiculous, but we'll get there. So it says, I am an Israeli trans woman. So this is a dude who desperately needs Palestine to be free. I need this because I refuse to accept that the massacre of peaceful protesters in Gaza. Peaceful protesters, where have we heard that before? Oh, that was from 2020, I think. What is it? Mostly peaceful but fiery protests. Yeah, okay. But massacre of peaceful protesters in Gaza is something that my people keep doing. I need this because I understand that trans liberation and Palestinian liberation are linked. Hmm. We'll get there. We'll get there. About 10 months ago, I figured out that I wanted to start hormone replacement therapy and that way medically transition. There were many reasons for this decision, but one of them was the realization that growing up Israeli and trans in Jerusalem while being expected to become a Zionist man. Here's the key word. Always throwing around the Zionists. If you guys ever look into anything newsworthy. It doesn't matter if it's the alt-right stuff or the left or anything like that. You'll see in comments and stuff, Zionist, blaming the Zionist Israelis and stuff. It's always Israel. It's always their fault. It's always the Zionist fault. So no surprise that we see that here. While being expected to become a Zionist man left an aftermath in my body. I needed help to heal and sensed that growing rounder, more tender body would help me connect with the justice-loving feminine child inside of me. And that having such a body would help me grow from that soft place. So from what I'm seeing here, this is a dude who he's Israeli, he's Jewish, and he doesn't want to be a part of the Zionist regime and wants to be a feminine child, I guess. That's what he's saying. The absurdity to this is insane. You just look at it from the outside, looking at it, and it's just, I couldn't help it. I mean, I talk about this type of stuff all the time, but even I couldn't help just laughing as I was reading this because of how ridiculous it is. And it's talking about the trans community and the Palestinian are linked and stuff. Again, we'll get to that in a second, but it's talking about the feminine child within him. I've been doing a series called The End Times New Age, where we've been talking about mystery, religion, and everything, and it has to do with a balance of feminine and masculine. Every religion out there stems from the Gnostic belief. It's part of mystery religion, and they worship the divine mother and child type of thing. He's making reference to both about being in them. I've been doing a whole thing on this, so if you guys haven't checked out that series, I basically just covered what the androgyny and transhuman and transgender and all that stuff have to do with mystery religion and how all those are interconnected and stuff. But he's making reference to that right here. So if we keep going on this thing, it says, I was already grounded in my anti-Zionist Israeli identity. I'm sorry, guys. After I moved to New York, shocker, I was thrilled to find how the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, the BDS movement, if you guys haven't looked into that, it's worth probably looking into, allowed me to work in a non-violent and tangible way under Palestinian leadership to end the Israeli occupation of Palestine. There's the wonderful lie that is making the rounds and growing ever larger in these times, obviously, because we know the world is going to go against Israel and be the cup that enamors the world, basically Jerusalem. Yet I still secretly wished for a moment that would alleviate me from the difficulties of my past, and I decided the moment of starting hormones would be it. Alleviate the moment of the difficulties of the past. Basically, God made me a man, but I disagree with God and I want to be a woman. That's what he's talking about. And so I waited until Jewish New Year. If you want to be against all of that, you want to lose your anti-Zionist Israeli identity, why would you wait for the Jewish New Year? Why are you still clinging on to that? I find that fascinating. So he waited till the Jewish New Year to go home, go to his pharmacy and start that phase of my transition. I imagined the little ritual I would do, very interesting words there. Mystery religion, the pharmakia, sorcery, using pharmakia to transition ritual. It's all part of the same thing. Very interesting words there. I imagine the little ritual I would do while taking that first teal-colored pill. New year, new Jew, new me. But when the pharmacy handed me the bottles with the medication, I looked at the label that read, produced by Teva Pharmaceuticals. And my heart stopped. Why did your heart stop? Teva, a word meaning nature in Hebrew, is an Israeli-owned pharmaceutical company that I have vaguely heard about as a participant in the economy of the occupation. They're a part of the opposition to the Palestinians. This must be a mistake, I thought. Oh no, we can see quite the conundrum that is popping up for today's modern world, where you just must transition. You must go against what God created you to be. You must transition, but in order to do that, you must use the Israeli pharmaceutical. You must use their hormones in order to transition. But you can't do that because they're Israel and they're bad. And they occupy and they're trying to kill off the Palestinians and they occupy the land and all this stuff. Whatever will I do? It's just sometimes when you look at something like this, it's just so ridiculous because this is where we're at now. Common sense, it's not even out the window anymore. It's on a rocket ship way gone from here. And at the same time, we see the mystery religion that is just swirled and entangled. I mean, just looking at the articles so far, we're seeing how surrounded this is, using specific words that point directly to it: the feminine child, the ritual, and everything. We're seeing all that in there. And then we have the conundrum, the modern day conundrum of I must transition, but I'm supporting the same people who are going against the Palestinians. There's more. There's more. He goes on to say, I was in shock. How could this be? I texted all of my medicalized trans sisters. Oh, Lord Jesus, please come soon. On my way home and asked a simple question: what makes your hormones, or who makes your hormones? Many of them didn't know offhand. It takes a great deal of struggle and an intense amount of questioning for many trans folks to get their hands on this life-saving medication. We understand that that's a complete lie, because if you want to dig into the numbers on it, most of the people who go through this transition, the rate of self-harm skyrockets. And those are the people who are after their transition. And once we do, we want to start immediately and experience an end to questions regarding the validity of our identity and our choices. But my sisters heard the urgency in my call and checked in. As the responses came, every single one was either Teva or a company that a quick Google search listed as is linked to Teva. We keep going. I later got in touch with a Jewish anti-Zionist trans student. Of course, you have to throw in those buzzwords and the agenda. You have to throw it in there. Student in Mills College, Darren Copeland. I have no idea, or Copland. I don't know who that is. But who reached out to me online. He told me that he had been dedicating the past year of his research to understanding the connections between cross-gender hormone production in the U.S. and Israel. He told me that he too found out his testosterone was made from Teva. So I don't know if this is a dude or a chick. I don't know. It's so convoluted. I can't ever figure that out. So I don't know. Told me he too found out his testosterone was made by Teva and wanted to understand what we should do about it as trans folks who support the BDS movement. This was no longer just about me feeling free in my body. A large part of the trans community in the U.S. is being forced to choose between our life-affirming transitions. Is it life-affirming or life-saving? Which one is it? You need to pick one. You can't just keep switching back and forth. They are not interchangeable. You need to pick one. Choose between our life-affirming transitions and our Palestinian siblings' demand for freedom. Oh, boy. After the necessary heartbreak of coming to the terms, coming to the terms with once again being complicit with the regime I so desperately want to dismantle. Pure hatred for the Israelis. I found the power in having a platform to do something about it. This is why Darren and I are trying to start an open online resource that lists companies that are affiliated with Teva. We are hoping to find alternative manufacturers for our trans siblings while never neglecting the low price, high demand needs of our community. Most importantly, I hope that all the trans, GNC, and queer folks reading this will help us make the message loud and clear. Zionism has tried to tie trans liberation to Palestinian oppression, but we refuse to accept this as our reality. So it's a difficult place when we're in this position, because we understand the darkness that's at work right now. We understand the mystery religion, what Satan is trying to accomplish. We understand what the Bible says about turning good evil and evil good, and progressing this agenda towards what they want to do. We understand that. We also understand that these people above all need Jesus. They need Jesus. They have been warped by the sin and darkness in this world. They've been confused. I'm not God. I don't know if their hearts have been hardened or they've been turned over to a reprobate mind. I don't know who all is possessed and who's not. But in the end, this is a person who needs Jesus. And all of the people that he was referencing in that article needs Jesus as well. And we understand that as Christians. We get it. But at the same time, it's just you can't help but the absurdity of this. You can't help but just laugh sometimes. You're not laughing at them. You're just laughing at the this is what the world has become. And so when I'm laughing at this article and the words being put out there, I'm not laughing at the person. Obviously, I want them to come to the saving grace and salvation through Jesus. But sometimes it's just so absurd because he's talking about how the trans community and the Palestinian liberation group are interlinked, but it's like they just don't know the basics of this. Because if you look into this, this is basically what it is. And again, it's taking a comedic approach, but it's not in the way of laughing at these people or anything. But this is really what it is. Because when they're talking about interlinked, do they understand what the Palestinians, what the Hamas groups and the Muslims and the Islam, do they understand what they do to homosexuals? I'm sure if I even just told you, much less show you, I'm not going to show you, but tell you on here, I'd probably get kicked off for the horrific things that they do, whether it's throwing them off buildings, beheading them, tying them behind cars and driving through the streets while they're still alive, and on and on and on. I'm not even going to go any further. If they find out that you are homosexual, they do that. But yet you have these people that are saying they are interlinked. It's basically the same thing as chickens getting together and lobbying for KFC. And as ridiculous as that sounds, that's exactly what it is. But again, common sense is so far gone nowadays. This is just where we're at. It's unfortunate. And if we take a look at the profile of the writer, they have this right on the website. Ida Segev is a trans feminine, anti-Zionist Israeli, interdisciplinary performance artist, writer, and advocate based in Brooklyn. He is currently working on his first evening-length live performance titled Not in My Name. It's hard to transition when you're escaping something, and is a proud artist council member of Jewish Voice for Peace. It's just, again, we have hit the point of insanity in the end times, whether it's the events unfolding, things that we never thought we would see, or the fact of common sense, logic, and just basic Googling skills, even though he makes reference of Googling stuff in there, basic Googling skills of the decisions of the homosexual, the alphabet community coming together in support of the Palestinians, the same people that would brutally murder them if they found out that they were homosexual. Just all we can do is just pray and cry out that somehow the gospel of Jesus gets through to them and they leave the sinful lifestyle that they're in, and they come to the saving grace of salvation through Jesus. We all need Jesus. Every single one of us, even the most confused, and I'm not doing that, not saying that in a insulting way, even the most confused in this world need Jesus. So I just wanted to put this out there as a thing of we're living in insane times. Literally, we're living in insane times, the insanity of the end times. And we need to be praying for any soul possible to get to Jesus before it's too late. So just thought I'd share that with you guys. I will catch you guys next time.